Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm a former commando from the United Kingdom, and today we have your daily update on Ukraine and the circumstances surrounding what's been going on over the past few days. We've got the Kharkiv Oblast area being heavily dominated by Ukraine forces at the moment, so we've got an update on what the Kremlin has to say about that. But in a nutshell, to summarize very, very quickly before we get into it, the Kremlin has basically acknowledged its defeat in the Kharkiv Oblast area. And this is the first time Moscow has actually openly done something like this or admitted to defeat since the start of the February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. So you've got to think about it logically how Russia is, guys. They're not going to admit to anything, and the fact that they have, it must be, it tells a story of just how bad they were defeated in that area, and it really does signify that they're under massive amounts of pressure. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about, the politics behind this whole thing, about how the military generals and Moscow has, trying to basically take the blame from Russia from Putin and push it towards Russia, and it's a strange one. They're trying to separate Putin, this entity in Russia, the state leader effectively, and trying to have the circumstances around this defeat pushed away from him. I don't know why they're doing that. They're trying to maybe it's a sign that he doesn't want to be portrayed as a weak leader and weak strategically in terms of this military regime and stuff, guys. But we've got a lot of things to get into. Before we do, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm going to turn my phone on silent because it's not. And let's get into a bit of a map street to get going, guys. Thanks for being here. So a little bit of we're going to go back to the 13th because that's where we last kept up with this map. So if we look down the region here near the Oskil Reservoir, so this reservoir system here, Oskil, I think I'm pronouncing it right, is that in itself is going to be a very hard area to dominate, guys. Okay, I'd imagine, and I've read a few articles that in order for Russia to effectively get back to safer positions where they've retreated to, some of them were swimming across this bloody thing. Okay, because there's not many main features other than this road feature here to be able to get past that reservoir system. All right, it's going to be quite a challenging area indeed to get across. But if we look at from the 13th, as I envisioned, near the at the very southern end of the Oskil Reservoir, we can see advances there massively taking ground and pushing back the border even further. So effectively, what you've got is just that reservoir as a main feature. If it wasn't for that, they would have been pushed back even further, I think. But the next big area that I envision within the next half day to a day is going to be this whole thing here. I reckon all of this is going to be dominated by Ukraine. There's nothing really stopping them taking this bit of land here, all right? Like I say, the reservoir is one thing, but I envision this southern tip of the Oskil Reservoir is going to be taken very, very soon, if it hasn't already been taken. This bit here is going to be a little bit challenging because you've obviously got the reservoir. You've only got one main road feature to get across there, so I don't know about that, but this is what I think will happen instead of that, which will automatically claim that land in Borova. If we look at, on the 13th, this northern kind of area, this northern flank, they've made great gains, okay? They've made great gains. All of that land, a tremendous amount of land has been dominated. But we skip forward literally on the same day. This little corridor here, this little buffer zone, so to speak, which, normally happens in war when you're pushing back enemy troops and you're the aggressor. It's a bit of a, you don't want to push too far ahead just in case you move right into the strongholds where they're defending and putting up defensive positions and stuff. But if we look what's happened here, it's basically, they've basically closed that gap effectively. So the only thing stopping them pushing forward from this point, mainly I would say further, is that Oskil Reservoir. Once they've, managed to, I think they're going to get the southern tip of that reservoir nipped in the bud very, very soon. Once they do that, I think the guys in Borova are really going to, or Borova rather, are going to be forced to push back even further, and that land will be effectively Ukraine's again, freeing up the locals and stuff. And we've seen some footage of recent, guys, of how the locals have responded to this. They've responded fantastically. So it's good to see, Ukrainians happy again within these regions. Such an amount of land has been freed up, troops. But with that being said, we're going to get straight into a little bit of news, because this whole thing here, this whole bit of blue, is all right. Me and you just doing updates on stuff, but it's caused a little bit of a stink, so to speak, in the Kremlin. Now, the Kremlin, as I mentioned before, it's acknowledged it's defeating the Kharkiv Oblast area. The first time Moscow has openly recognized a defeat since the start of the February 2022 invasion in Ukraine. This is a big, big deal, guys, for the Kremlin to be acknowledging its defeat. You know, there's nothing psychologically beneficial for them to do that. When you think about it, if they want to play mind games, that's the wrong mind game to play. So the fact that Kremlin officials and state media propagandists are extensively discussing the reasons for the Russian defeat in Kharkiv Oblast tells you just how significant of a win this is for Ukraine. You know, in terms of how they were at the start of the war, this is a marked change from their previous pattern of reporting on exaggerated or fabricated Russian successes, with limited details being given. And we've seen that happen, you know, with some of the battles that have been taking place here. Russian propaganda has taken hold of that information and spewed it out, regurgitated it out, and painted Russian troops in a more favourable light. Okay, you know, they've been overemphasizing their victories and stuff, and that's misinformation at the end of the day. That misinformation has been filtered out, and people are thinking that they're actually more successful than they actually are. Mainly the Russians, all right, because obviously they're getting the backlash of all of this Russian propaganda, so to speak, all right. And when you think about how the Kremlin, they never admit when Russia has been defeated. You just have to look at previous wars and stuff. They're quite stiff upper lip is the word I'm looking for when you think about it. So if we take our minds back to, Kiev or Snake Island, the Kremlin never admitted that Russia was defeated around Kiev or Snake Island. You know, they basically framed the retreat from Kiev as a decision to prioritize the liberation of Donbass, which is a key thing to remember. And the withdrawal from Snake Island was, as they said, a gesture of goodwill. Now, a gesture of goodwill. That's a phrase I never thought I'd hear Kiev or Moscow admit, all right, or say. It just doesn't really, gestures of goodwills don't really happen in war, guys, when you're invading a country. The Russian Ministry of Defense, the MOD, originally offered a similar explanation for the Russian failure in Kharkiv, claiming that Russian forces were withdrawing troops from that oblast area to regroup. But this false narrative faced quick and loud criticism online. And I remember at the time, a lot of news articles, a lot of Twitter articles and stuff, people were just going, hang on a minute, this is a load of rubbish here. And the Kremlin's acknowledgement of defeat is part of an effort to mitigate and deflect criticism from such a devastating failure away from Russian President Vladimir Putin and onto Russian Ministry of Defense and uniformed military command. So we're talking about Putin doesn't want to be seen as the guy who's made these bad decisions militarily. We look at the embarrassment in Afghanistan, you know, and that was pushed onto the military leaders instead of the people who were truly in charge of those decisions. President Putin's doing the same thing here, all right? He doesn't want to be the guy in the seat getting the blame, and that's typical of a guy of his nature, all right? So he's passing the blame onto his military, who, you know, he's effectively in command of. It's a coward's way out, guys, all right? It's something that I envision him doing a lot more of, you know, as land over these areas is taken, because in my personal opinion, this is just the start of the takeover for Ukraine. I think they're going to be pushing into Starobilsk areas and stuff like that very, very quickly. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they keep on pushing eastward. Like I say, as soon as they can get past this reservoir, I think they're going to be smooth running, because the morale of Ukraine is high and the morale of Russia is very, very low, guys. So let's talk about how the Kremlin is, they're trying to work a way to clear Putin's name of any responsibility for the defeat. Again, we've discussed why that may be, but we'll get into possible other reasons, okay? But instead of blaming the loss of almost all occupied Kharkiv Oblast on the military advisors within Putin's circle, instead of doing that, you'd think that he'd take some form of I don't know. Maybe he's take a little bit of responsibility on these massive losses here. I think that's what we would expect from him. All right, one member of the Kremlin's Council for the interethnic relations, Bogdan, even stated that the military officials who had failed to see the concentration of Ukraine troops and equipment and disregarded telegram channels that warned of the imminent Ukraine counteroffensive in the Oblast should have had their heads lying on Putin's desk. So, the monitoring, it's funny they've mentioned telegram channels, monitoring social media and stuff like that, but that must be a really hard thing to gauge when, if you think about it, the telegram channels shouldn't really be discussing military tactics and stuff anyway, and a large counteroffensive, if that was put out on telegram channels and stuff like that, I don't envision that being the source of information to act upon. So I don't really know how to work that one, guys. Telegram channels is, you don't really want to be putting your orders on there, especially such a massive operation as such, where you're going to be pushing eastward and taking literally hundreds of square miles. Yeah, I don't see that being too much of a problem in terms of intelligence getting leaked and stuff like that. They're not going to get leaked onto Telegram channels, that's for sure. If we think about how the Kremlin's actually admitted this defeat, is that a sign that Putin is willing to, accept some form of responsibility that Russia is failing in many circumstances? I don't think. I'm trying to think, because at the same time, it seems like he's trying to deflect the blame for himself and put it onto his military officials. But, the rest of the world will see that as, your military officials are a product of your command and leadership anyway. So effectively, you are admitting the blame. You are admitting it. You just don't want to be publicly recognized as the person who is accepting defeat. Okay? So how's this making the Russian soldiers feel, and Russians who are living in and around the areas that's been taken over on the map that we've just seen? So, Russia's defeat in the Kharkiv Oblast is causing panic among Russians in occupied Ukrainian territories, servicemen and military bloggers as well. We know a couple of military bloggers who are actually on the front lines for Ukraine, doing a fantastic job of that. Some of them I actually watch every day, keeping up to date with what's going on there. They're my main source of information. I'm not too clued up on who's these Russian military bloggers are. I have no interest in watching that. But the Ukrainian main military intelligence, the GUR, reported that Russian authorities in Crimea urged their families to flee to Russia. So they're telling these guys to get the hell out of there. This counteroffensives have caused a massive stir with how people are feeling in these regions. They're not so comfortable now, all right? The Russian natives are not so comfortable within this area. So they're telling them, listen, get the hell out of there, all right? This is which tells me that they're effectively expect this to continue. The counteroffensive is far from over as far as I'm concerned. Yes, they might be at a little bit of a lull in the Kupiansk area, but it's certainly not over. You've got that main feature in the way, again, the reservoir, that's holding them back. But I definitely see this this is going to continue, especially in the coming weeks, that's for sure. So yeah, it's causing a bit of a stir within Russia. Obviously families are fleeing to Russia as a result of this, while employees of the Russian Federal Security Service, the FSB, are selling their homes on the peninsula and are urgently evacuating their families due to the Ukraine counteroffensive. It's causing massive, massive problems, guys. Ukrainian General Staff reported that forcibly mobilized proxy units are suffering low morale and psychological problems. You'd expect that psychological problems are going to be a part of war, big factor of war anyway, with whether you're a soldier or not. The psychology involved in this, it can be tormenting for the average person, okay? And there's just loads of average people in the military, believe it or not. You don't have to be Superman to be able to take part, so to speak. So yeah, psychologically, what's it going to do to dampen Russia's spirits? Well, I don't think they had good spirits to start with. All right, let's not forget, these guys didn't really have a good reason to get involved in this war. They were just told to go there. Here's your salary. That it's been reported that most of them haven't been paid anyway. and they're just getting, they haven't got a decent reason to be there. So the fact that they're getting pushed back off this counteroffensive, watching their colleagues die, their friends and members they've served with die in front of them, this is going to destroy the morale of the Russian soldier. All right. Russian military bloggers are actually increasingly worried about Ukrainian counteroffensive in different areas along the Donetsk Oblast front line and preemptively identifying vulnerable Russian positions. So it goes without saying, you're going to be worried about this counteroffensive continuing. That's what that means. The military bloggers over there are expecting this to continue. So, the front line that we've, in fact, we'll have a look at this front line. This is what I was saying the other day. Don't think that this is the new front line up this region, but I generally believe before long we'll be in a position where we are looking at these areas here. All right, these areas here. And this will form part of the new front line, and that's going to be one big, massive front line all the way down to Donetsk. I see this massive area here, being blue very, very soon. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a military blogger, a guy who studied history and understands war too much to be able to understand that well. If they can keep the momentum going here, just look at the red arrows. The red arrows are signifying that Russians are getting the hell out of there anyway. So it's a matter of time, guys. Once they find a way to get around this Oskil reservoir, I do believe that most of this area will become blue and you'll have one big, massive front line there. And the HIMARS artillery systems are going to be key in this situation. If you can keep on pushing these Russians back and utilizing the HIMARS rocket systems as they are, you're effectively going to be able to catch them on the retreat. So without sounding too gruesome, you're going to catch them on the retreat and wipe them off the face of the earth effectively. So you're going to be taking those numbers off the battlefield. And yeah, I'm glad I'm not there. That's all I can say, guys. But that's it for today in terms of what we wanted to cover. We wanted to cover, a little bit of a map study, what's been going on, but we also wanted to talk a little bit about the Kremlin and how they're trying to, they've admitted defeat effectively, which is something that I never thought would see in the entirety of this war. I never thought that the Kremlin would admit defeat, even when inevitably they are defeated. The fact that they're admitting it this early on tells me that the momentum is well and truly within Ukraine's hands. They have the capability, they have the worldwide support, they have the worldwide support through funding, weaponry, they're getting ammunition and everything sent their way. So, the whole world's on Ukraine's side at this moment in time, and rightfully so. So I think we're seeing the change and turning point in the whole war. All right, Kharkiv Oblast area is, it's under Ukrainian territory again and control. And, long may it continue, guys. But before you go, if you can spend another couple of minutes, I need to explain something to you guys. The reason I do it at the end is because I want you to get the full glory of the video. If you could, pay the respects and watch this to the end and help me out with something that I want to tell you about, I would really appreciate that. But first things first, we've just hit 250,000 subscribers, over 250,000. In fact, we've got 250,082 wonderful individuals subscribe to the channel at the time of this recording, guys. So it's fantastic. All right, 250,000 people. And yeah, I'm on a mission to start YouTube boxing. I need a talent manager to help me out with that, because without a talent manager, I'm just a normal man sitting behind a desk, not able to network with key individuals who can help me get on an influencer boxing show. I generally believe I can be one of the best influencer boxers out there. I've done a little bit in the past, but I'm a former Royal Marine. I know how to use my hands and I've got the will to succeed, okay? And the ethos that got me through and capable of wearing this green beret, they still stand with me today. Although I'm a little bit heavier than I was, a little bit unfitter compared to when I was in the military, though that mindset still exists, guys. So I'm optimistic, but I genuinely believe I can do very well. Even though I'm 34 years old, I do think I can compete with some of the younger guys and really, really compete at a good level. I want to do this for you, all right, for all of my supporters out there, because I generally believe there's a place on the YouTube boxing scene for me. So what I need you to do is like, share and subscribe to the channel as much as you can. The numbers are showing that you guys are doing that. When I asked you to help me out, the numbers are just skyrocketing. When I asked you to watch as much of the video as possible, the viewership is going up, and I can see on my analytics that a lot of people are sharing these videos now, which is helping me out. I need 40 to 70,000 views or more, but the category I've been given off the talent manager who I need to get with He's given me a task for about a month. I need to have 40 to 70,000 views per video for them to entertain me and potentially take me on. So, guys, let's do the business. Let's do your magic and help support the channel that way. If you want to see me on a YouTube boxing show, then you guys know what to do. But that's it. 250,000 subscribers. Thank you, guys. I'll see you in the next video.